welcome to the Ride the Wave show. Last night was an amazing night in sports. The UConn Huskies went back-to-back. Congratulations to them. Ethan Puckett ripped the hearts out of the Bearcats with a walk-off single last night to keep the Warriors on a hot streak. We will have a lot of sports talk today. We'll have a Dante Jackson, a great guest coming in. But also we'll have one of my best friends, Adam B-Dubs, in the house. And our live guest, Dave Shoemaker. Put him in the hall.
Put him in the hall.
Put him in the hall. As you can see, we have a little new studio in here, Coach. A little new style to it.
I like it. I like the setup.
It literally,
comfortable.
I looked around.
Whoever decided on this banner, smart, genius.
Great
Promoter.
banner. Got to keep that from that benefit concert that was electric. If you missed it, you missed a great time. I was looking in the room today. It's like, too much furniture. Get it out. So I just threw all the furniture out, and now this is our studio. So without further ado, let's kind of get into the show. Coach, we kind of let it off here. UConn, back-to-back national championships. What were your thoughts on the Huskies last night?
They were my pick all year. Of course, that's not unusual. Everybody picked them.
Yeah.
But the way they ran, produced shooters off the three-point line was brilliant, man.
Yeah.
They got out there and covered them, and they didn't let Zach get his points, but they shut everybody else down.
I felt like they were the first team that had a guy that could actually go pound for pound with Edey down low. Now, it's kind of weird to say because I think he had like 30-some, right? He had like 35 or 36.
37 and 10.
Yeah. So it's like it's weird to say that they kind of like stopped him, but
It was a
hard 37. Yeah. It wasn't like he was just –
the rest of the team had 23 points. And
yeah.
It was the lowest scoring output of the year for Purdue.
And that's nothing new, though, with UConn in that tournament run. I mean, I think every single one of their wins was by double digits. The last game they had that was, like, not double digits was in the Big East, which brings me to my next thing. Coach, when the Big East first got started, and they had all of those great coaches, and they went on that big run, and then they went to, like, they kind of disbanded, and a lot of them went to the American League, and there's a lot of teams that are in the Big East that really weren't a part of it. But now I feel like it's kind of come back full circle, and the Big East is like the power conference of college basketball. What do you think?
Yeah, I love the old Big East with Georgetown and St. John's and
Syracuse, Villanova, Louisville.
And West Virginia was in it for a while.
Yeah.
When West Virginia went to the Final Four in 2010, they were in the Big East.
Yeah.
Because I was at Madison Square Garden when they won the Big East tournament.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget the people in Madison Square Garden played Country Roads after the game, middle of New York City.
Yeah.
And it was amazing.
Because, I mean, my biggest memory as a kid growing up watching the Big East was that, like, what was it, 6 or 8 overtime game between Syracuse and UConn?
Yes.
And that wasn't even the Big East championship.
Yeah. See, that's my thing is it was always the Beast in the East was going to be a problem in the actual tournament. So Big East was always been my favorite. I hated what happened to it in football, that they kind of disbanded, or they did disband it, but I'm glad that it's actually a thing still in basketball.
But the coaches, Jim Calhoun, Bob Huggins at one time, Louis Carnesecca was at St. John's.
Yeah.
Jim Boeheim at Syracuse. I mean,
I believe there's a Maryland coach we had on the show that was in the Big East at one point.
And you guys are probably too young to remember this, but they used to have, like, people will remember this, but it was like the Big East Tuesday night. There was a name for it, and they would have Big East games, and they were bloodbaths, man. They were great.
And I feel like that's kind of what's happened today too, because when you watch the Big East, I mean, now it's always on FS1 every single Saturday during the season. But whenever you're watching a Big East game, I mean, it didn't matter if it was other than DePaul. It didn't matter who was playing who. It was always a tight game. I saw somewhere that DePaul might finally be leaving the Big East. So, congratulations to the Big East figuring that out. Good job. Sorry, DePaul, they keep getting strays here. It's just, I mean, Coach.
Yes.
You have more basketball knowledge than us. When was the last time DePaul did something?
They were good, like in the late 70s. They had Mark Aguirre, and they had a legendary coach, old guy. His son ended up taking his place. I'll think of it here in a minute.
You're not selling me on DePaul.
Yeah, They had Mark Aguirre. They were really, really good. I mean, they were ranked first in the country one year, like 1981, I think.
Oh,
something
wow.
like that for almost the whole season. But
Now,
that
I
was
always
it.
wonder, like, places like that, do you think it can ever turn around, or do you think sometimes a program just gets stuck in a rut that they can never get out of? Like, look, SMU football, they were a powerhouse, and now I feel like
Well, Georgetown is going through that now. They, in the 80s with Patrick Ewing and all those guys, and then in the early 90s, and they even had Iverson in the mid-90s.
Yeah.
But I think they won.
Real
How many
quick,
games they won this year? 4 or something?
DePaul's last NCAA tournament win was in 2004.
yeah. So
But it's hard to bring it back because, like, even on the high school level, changing a culture takes a long time to change the way the players and the fans think of your program. But as we know, it can all go to hell.
Yeah.
In a couple months, the wrong person comes in.
And two, whenever it comes to changing a culture, like, you can say the right things and do the right things, but that first year, I feel like whenever you try and do a lot of change, you're not expecting a whole lot of wins. But if you start going 2-3 years and you're still not winning games, eventually I feel like it's hard for the players to be like, okay, well, you keep saying all this, but we haven't won shit.
I feel like the biggest thing is getting the kids to buy in, especially on those early years.
And that's what – shout out to MVD with that great Yoda football documentary that dropped on our YouTube channel. Make sure you go check that out, Point Break Saga,
You say
football
great,
story.
you mean like amazing, best ever.
Amazing. It is a true 30 for 30 film for Southern Ohio. But what big thing that came from them was what you were saying, that all the kids bought in. It was a good culture. They understood what they wanted to do, and it led to success on the field, Coach.
People get sick of me talking about this, but it's all about relationships.
Yeah.
Like that first year when I came back to Paint Valley, we won 8 games, which was a pretty big game.
Played for a sectional title.
Yeah. And but if you have relationships with your players, and it's harder now in college with NIL and everybody moving in and out, they can leave if they get mad at you or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you have relationships, they'll continue to believe in you for a longer period and give you more time to build things. If you don't have relationships and you're preaching all this to them, but you don't have a relationship with them, they're going to turn their back on you real fast.
It's going one ear out the other.
Yeah.
I mean, now, one thing that was said loud, proud, and made everybody, I think, have even more respect for was Dawn Staley. After they won the title on, what was that, Sunday? She goes up there and thanks Caitlin Clark for pretty much changing the women's game. As a coach, what did you think of that, Coach Shue?
She's probably my favorite coach.
She's
men or
awesome.
Women right
She's
now.
I feel like she's my generations of Pat Summitt.
I think she could
That's
coach
a very valid statement.
men
Yeah.
in the NCAA. With
I agree.
her style, the first thing I thought of when Cal left Kentucky was Dawn Staley.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that would be a big leap. That
Yeah.
would be a big reach for them. But I'm telling you, I think she could do it because she's not one of the – she's a coach that develops relationship. If she came in here and started screaming at the kids all the time, they're not going to listen to her.
Right.
But she's the kind of coach who can develop relationships, and she knows her X and O's.
And she has the resume to back it up. And one thing that I think has been kind of cool watching the South Carolina story is how they have like a men's basketball team that's just like the practice squad that they go against. And whenever they're like, we win titles, they get rings. I thought that was kind of cool that they throw the rings over there. Yeah. But like my thing is, Coach, how do you think, because Caitlin Clark has been ginormous in college basketball. Angel Reese, I can't remember the girl
I
from
think
Stanford's
Clark's
name.
probably one of the most popular players in NCAA basketball in like the last 2-3 years.
How does that transition to the WNBA though? Do you think going to the WNBA, where the WNBA league as a whole, I think we can all say, isn't thriving as well as it probably could be? Do you think that she changes that, or do you think that she kind of gets lost in the WNBA narrative?
Personally, I think it helps because this draft coming up is a pretty decent draft, so I think it's only gonna help it.
I think you can already see like the Aces have gotten like the T-Mobile Arena, which holds like way more stadiums for any time. Like they have like 4 or 5 games, I think, when the Indiana comes and plays them. that they're going to be playing there. So like teams are already preparing for bigger stadiums, which I feel like will bring in more money, which will bring in more money to pay the players. Which I feel like the more money you can give somebody to do something, the better the product's going to be overall.
I think I read where she's only making $76,000 or something her first year. I mean, that's insane.
I mean, Ice Cube offered her like $5 million to go play in the Big Three. What would you pick? Would you pick the Big Three or the WNBA?
But
I'm picking the Big Three because she'd be balling against old NBA players, and then after like a year, be like, all right, now I'm going to the WNBA.
I saw a podcast with Paul Pierce and Lance Stevenson and a couple guys, and they said she does not want to do that Big Three leg because those guys are gonna she won't get a shot.
It's like Gus Macker with NBA players.
Oh yeah, it's rough.
And if anybody played Gus Macker,
it's half court. It's not running up and down a court.
That, and they'll just muscle the shit.
Yeah. Have you watched any of it? I've watched a decent bit of it.
So that first
year,
first year, whenever they made the Big Three, it was hard, man. Watching something that I pretty much was when I was would be on Twitter, you were seeing everybody tweet about it. But then the games didn't come out to the next day, so it's kind of just like you're trying to watch a rerun. But then the second year, whenever it became live, I think what Ice Cube over there is doing, I think it's gonna be big eventually, especially with 3-on-3 becoming like an Olympic sport. I feel like they just need to get more athletes that aren't just ex-NBA stars. I think at the beginning it was cool, but like the ones that are ex, as in like maybe like right out of the NBA, but they got ones that were like.
Well, I mean, could you imagine seeing like a Calvin Johnson as soon as he retired in there, or like a Randy Moss or something like that, just going crazy on people?
Yeah, imagine like I don't want to say Tyreek Hill. I don't think he'd be that insane, but like
like a Myles Garrett.
Yeah,
big boy can put
Myles
down.
Garrett can dog, man. He can play some good basketball.
Saw him in that Celebrity All-Star game. Also, Tony said, "Stay off the ball."
Stay off the ball.
Stay off the ball.
Oh, stay off the ball. Oh yeah, Tony loves the ball. I think we put in an application for him to be their number one fan.
I mean, they have it in their contract that they can't jet ski and rollerblade and do things like that.
In the Big Three?
NFL players.
Oh,
the NFL players. So I'm not sure they'll want them playing.
Well, after they retire.
Yeah, no, like retire.
Oh, after they retire, yeah.
Like Aaron Donald just retired. Could you imagine Aaron Donald just going to the Big Three and being a big man?
Yeah, like a Glenn Davis.
Yeah, and just bodying people down low. Sure, what are your thoughts on the Big Three? You like the Big Three?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not crazy about it. I'll watch it if nothing else is on, but I'm not a big.
I think that they need to have like an All-Star weekend.
Yeah, or if they could be a part of All-Star weekend or something like that.
Yeah, that's what they in the NBA need to have something kind of going together.
I feel like they just need to have something to bring more people to the.
From what I've read, the NBA hasn't been real supportive of it. They haven't backed it. They haven't pushed it.
I feel like they look at them more as as one. I don't know.
Look at it as an Olympic team. Maybe the winner of the season just gets to represent the United States.
That'd be cool. Speaking on 3-on-3 though, big 3-on-3 tournament Saturday, fellas.
Huge.
The Indian Lake Relief 3-on-3 tournament hosted by us. First off, look at this. Awesome. This is our whole studio. This is it. You see it?
I love that shirt.
We got The Rock here. Can you see what The Rock is wearing? It's the shirt signed by all the band members.
Moose Miller.
Yeah, we got a cool logo here. And if
Stateside Red.
It got all the bands on the back of the shirts, even cooler. What were we talking about again? Oh, yeah, the 3-on-3 tournament Saturday. I can't get over the wide angle, man. Look, I'm having a show with my dad. He's in the wide shot. Anyways, we're gonna have a 3-on-3 tournament this Saturday, and we got some good teams coming. Wakanda, not an original name, but that has to be my early favorites coming in. Team from Washington Courthouse. I have this kid named Isaiah Haithcock, who is a stud. Now the Bops, they look good. They're from Westfield. They got Gall. They got that Jeremiah kid. They're coached by Aubrey Clark.
Got two coaches, I'm pretty sure.
Yep. Now, early favorite for best name
is the Skidmark.
Skidmark. They actually messaged me like, "Hey, we've been thinking about changing our name. Can we do that?" I said no. I said that vetoed.
That's what we called Piketon at one point. Oh no, that was the Red Stains.
The Red Stains.
Back in the day.
I want to know where they came up with red streaks. Like they could have came up with a red lightning bolts.
Here's my It's something that's always bothered me. And I want to preface this by saying I've always gotten along with all the Piketon people, the administrators,
yeah,
the
me
coaches,
too.
Phil Howard, all the coaches, loved them all. But they're the red streaks, and their mascot or their logo is a lightning bolt,
Right.
not a streak, right?
I get that's.
Yeah,
I always
streak of
thought
lightning.
it'd be some guy like in all red
Streaking?
running with, lines behind him like he's really fast. I don't know. It's a
Yeah,
lightning
that's what I was
bolt.
thinking. Streak of lightning.
Huh?
A streak of lightning.
Okay, well, I never thought of that before. It's like when I taught school and I would always eat mallow cups.
Yeah.
And one day, it was first period, and I said, I wonder why they call them mallow cups. It's kind of a weird name. And P.J. McAllister said, because they're made of marshmallow. And I went, that is it.
Hey, hold on. Speaking of P.J. McAllister, you just made me remember one of my favorite stories that I want you to tell right now.
Oh, God.
Whenever you guys played down at Morgantown, still in sophomore year, this is, hey, when you asked, am I going to ask you a question that you don't know the answer to? No, but I am going to make you tell one of my favorite stories.
That's fine. There were 8 teams invited to this shootout. West Virginia was recruiting Dillon at the time, so it was a big deal. I mean, ESPN was there.
Yeah.
Huntington, West Virginia, Oak Hill Academy, like all of these big-time Vermont Academy, all these,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the name, but all these great high school teams, and Paint Valley. And we were playing Morgantown, which has an enrollment of 5,000 kids.
Just won
or
state
something.
championship last year.
Yeah, they won it the year we played them. We only lost by like 23 or so. It wasn't bad. We competed. But anyway, it was P.J. McAllister's birthday, and he was like a sophomore or maybe even a freshman, but he dressed varsity, little skinny kid. And it was his birthday. So the end of the game, I went down. I said, P.J., I'm going to put you in, and you're going to make a 3. You're going to make a 3 on the TV. And he just sat there, and I said, now you're going to go make a 3. And so he got up and went in. And the people in our crowd, we had probably 50 people that drove out. And every time PJ would shoot a 3, because we were trying to get it to him for his birthday. I think he was 16.
I think he was a sophomore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, PJ keeps, he missed 2 or 3 threes, and every time he missed it, our crowd and our bench would stand up, and we were behind by 25.
Yeah.
And everybody go, oh, like that. And finally, PJ makes this 3 with like 7 seconds left, and both sides erupt. And the other pep section, because it was in Morgantown High School, the Morgantown fans who we were playing against, like were reaching out and high-fiving him, and the other players were hugging him and all this stuff. And PJ was this little skinny sophomore, And after the game, we walked down the locker room, and I said, PJ, man, the crowd really liked you there. It really got behind you there. That was pretty cool. And he said, Coach, I'm pretty sure they thought I was one of those special needs kids that you put in. You see these YouTube videos where the guy makes a 3-pointer.
It's like
And it all became clear that is exactly what was going on.
you start seeing like the Morgantown kids getting the rebound, passing it out to PJ.
Rubbing his head after he made the shot, patting him on the back.
Oh man, that's
It has henceforth been known as the Morgantown Drainbow because it was this big arching shot.
Was that the same time whenever they got in the elevator and PJ looked at Swing and said, "What's up, 4?"
That was in a summer league. Dillon only had 4 points against some team, and PJ, who didn't score a lot, had 7. And we all got on the elevator, and PJ just got in and looked up at Dillon and went, "What's up, 4?"
Hey, now Morgantown is famously known for their hot wings.
Oh
right?
my Lord!
What was that place?
Kegler's.
Kegler's, man. They had some of the hottest wings that I have ever had in my entire life. Adam, what's the hottest wing you've ever had? Like, where was it? Do you know? Dude, this was called the 911 wing.
It was probably at a like backyard barbecue somewhere. You just hit me too fast,
dude. This stuff literally made me feel like my face was on fire. Like it was gone, and it was like tradition. Like pretty much you weren't allowed on the team unless you took a bite. And I don't like milk. First time I've ever drank a glass though. I mean, it was insane. And I only took one bite, and it like ruined the rest of my night. It was not a good time.
I don't want to embarrass Dylan Swingle.
Yeah,
but he ate them, and of course he was crying like everybody did because it hurt so bad. And he made the nearly fatal error of going to the bathroom and before he washed his hands.
Oof. That'll ruin
let your mind wander.
Dylan was on fire from head to toe. What would you say the best wings you've had, Archie? We have deemed on the show it has to be Wagner's. The meat to bone ratio is just insane.
Locally, Wagner's for sure. Yeah. Although the Doc has pretty good wings too.
Yeah,
but
the Doc's just not really our
Wagner's. Outside of Chillicothe, though, probably out in Morgantown at Kegler's.
At Kegler's.
Yeah.
All right, now, Shu, I want to talk to you. You've watched. We're getting back to the basketball thing. I'm sorry, I haven't had dinner yet. We started talking about wings. I kind of got sidetracked there. But you watched a lot of Final Four teams. What's a team that you would stack up against this UConn team? Now, we have a Florida fan here, so the first thing that goes to the mind is that 07-08 or 06-07 Florida team that went back-to-back.
06 to 08.
Oh, yeah.
Because this UConn team did go
back-to-back as well. So you immediately want to compare them to that. I saw Jay Billis in them. They're from Duke, so you can't really trust what they say. But they were comparing them to, like, UCLA's run back in the day. And they're saying, you put them up against Kentucky, like 4 of Kentucky's titles were in like the 30s, like the 30s or 40s. So where do you rank UConn? I mean, do you think that you have to consider them a blue blood now? I mean, 6 titles in 25 years from 99 to now.
Absolutely. Those UCLA teams, I hate it when I hear people say, well, there were only 16 teams in a tournament. It was an easier path. Well, they won like 9 out of 10 years. If it was an easy path, why were they the only team doing it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it was that easy.
Why did everybody do it?
The Duke teams of the 80s and 90s were really good, although I hated them. As far as a good team in just 1 year, UNLV in 1990, they beat Duke by 30 in the championship game. They had Larry Johnson and Stacey Augmon and all those guys. For 1 year, they
was Cincinnati in that Final Four?
Unbelievable. No, Cincinnati was 92.
Oh, okay, so that was a different one.
With Nick the Quick Van Exel and some of those
guys. Did you see where LeBron said whenever he was growing up, he wanted to go to Cincinnati because of the uniforms and because of Hugs?
No.
Yeah.
I always thought he wanted to go to Ohio State.
No, so he was on this. Him and JJ Redick made this new podcast. I have no idea what it's called.
It's good.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of clips from it, and I've liked it a lot. And one of the clips that I saw was him talking about, like watching clips of Kenyon Martin and all them from Cincinnati and how cool their jerseys were and how much he liked Bob Huggins. And he's like, when I was growing up, Cincinnati was a school that I wanted to go to. Now, I mean, with Dante coming on here later, I'm sure that's not something that he wants to hear as a Xavier guy. But that kind of –
when you said Ohio State, I know football-wise he was definitely like – if I played
maybe
football, I was going to Ohio
of.
State.
Yeah.
But I kind of ask you, like, that kind of test – I feel like those Cincinnati teams with Kenyon Martin, when Hugs was there, taking them to the Final Four, I feel like they have to be some of the most underrated teams in college history.
In 1999, they were ranked number 1 in the country, and Kenyon Martin – broke his leg, and it ended up for him. But they were the best team in the country.
They were ranked in the top 4 going into the tournament, right?
I think they might have even been ranked number 1 because they've been
That's
number
what I thought.
1 a lot of the year. Yeah, but, man, they were good.
Because they made it – I mean, they made it to a Final Four before. They were getting to that part. And LeBron graduates in 2003, so that is, like, right in the middle of his childhood.
Another team in the last 20 years, Villanova. Of course, they won back in '84, but they've been really good.
Now, I think we talked about this last show, but the greatest championship game, in my opinion, has to be that Villanova-North Carolina game.
Yeah.
Because it's the only one that has come down to literally the buzzer beater 3 to win the title. I mean, outside of that, do you think you have one that kind of goes up with it? Because I think you're right.
NC State played Houston in 83, and Houston had Akeem Olajuwon and all those guys. Was Clyde Drexler on that team?
I'm not 100% sure.
But that's the one where one of the NC State guys took a shot and that Houston in the title game. Yeah.
Was that the title game?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was for everything.
Because my problem is, whenever people say this is the greatest thing of all time in this sport, blah, 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 sometimes I feel like there is some recency bias.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
But, like, the only one that I truly feel like you could say that and it not be recency bias is that Villanova, North Carolina game, just because of how, that dude was deep for that three.
Raleigh Massimino.
But I feel like everyone watching that game, as soon as he caught it, knew that one was going in.
Yeah.
And again, that's just another one of the Big East titles that have just made that league the dominance, the league to beat in the NCAA. And one guy that we know that is a part of that league, that coaches in that league, that played for a team, not in that league at the time. They were in the Atlantic 10, but they were still doing absolute dominance. Hometown hero, the one and only Dante Jackson. Woo! Woo! What's going on, my man?
What's up, fellas? How we doing?
Hey, we're doing good. So I was watching this game last night, and honestly, there's one person that I kept thinking about. I wanted to ask so many questions was Dante, because you guys played Purdue, and then obviously you played UConn a couple of times. So I kind of want to start this off by asking you, going into last night, what were your thoughts, and then what were your thoughts after the game?
Yeah, listen, we between those two teams, we played them 4 times this year.
Yeah,
played UConn 3 times, and Purdue once. But I'll be honest with you, I thought that UConn was going to win by 10 from the jump. I believe that they were the best team I've ever seen in person. And listen, like I played in the Elite 8 against Russell Westbrook, Kevin Love, Aaron Collison.
That UCLA team.
They were loaded.
Drops.
But the versatility that UConn showed and the different ways that they could beat you and they were just great. Now, not taking anything away from Purdue, UConn was just flat out better.
Oh, from the jump, and I felt like you could see it the entire tournament. I mean, every win they had was by 10 or more, and we were just kind of talking about it. Everybody's first thought to go to is that back-to-back Florida team, and that's where they kind of want to compare UConn to. Where do you think UConn kind of ranks whenever it comes to the greater teams in NCAA tournament history?
Yeah, listen, you look over the last 2 years, every tournament game they won was by 13 or more points. That is complete dominance. And I think in this day and age, it's one thing when 10, 15 years ago, or you're the 07, 06 Florida team where, if you transfer, you're sitting out a year and, you try to keep it together and they figure it out. What UConn did, what Hurley did of losing 3 NBA players, remaking their roster, and they became actually more dominant than that team was.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you, in my 14 years of being in college basketball, I have not seen it. I've never seen a team as dominant top to bottom as they are.
And I feel like Hurley really set the tone for him. One interview and one quick stat that I want to bring up. I think in all of their Final Fours, they've only lost 1 game. So it's like,
I don't think they've ever lost a final game.
They've never lost a championship game, and they've only lost in the Final Four once. Is what I'm pretty sure. Is what I saw.
They're 6-0. They're 6-0 in championship games, and I want to tell you they're 5-1.
Yeah.
In the Final Four.
Again, when it goes to Calhoun, and then you had Ollie in there, and then now you have Hurley. I mean, they had the game. I think it was I want to say it was against Villanova, and he just goes into the press conference after, and he sits there and says, "Everybody, Get your licks now, because we're coming. Yeah. And whenever you have a coach that's like that, and I feel like with you and Sean Miller, you see as Xavier, I mean, it goes down to the players, and it's just like, you know, when you see the coach talking like that, you got to believe you're going to go there and kick some ass.
Well, one of my favorite things he did was when maybe Zach Edey had a little bit of a dirty screen on one of his players. There was a timeout. He went and he let him know.
Yeah.
He went and let Zach know.
First off, we should have led with this. Thank you for those seats, by the way, at that Creighton game. Thank you so much.
And happy late birthday.
But you bringing that up makes me want to say there was a timeout where Coach Miller only called that timeout to let the ref know what he thought of him that day. I don't think he even went in the huddle, went just straight out of there. I mean, he coaches with some fire, man. I love it.
I'm going to tell you this. Like, Shu knows better than most because he's been around this guy, Bob Huggins, more than any of us. Those guys, when they get to that level and they're coaching, they black out.
Yeah.
Sometimes they forget what's going on other than the game. And so I know Shu's seen Hugs black out a handful of times.
Oh, yeah.
And now I know they're your bitter rival, but, growing up in Southern Ohio, guys, we were actually just talking about Hugs and Kenyon Martin and those early 90 teams from Cincinnati. I don't know if you saw the clip about LeBron. He even said whenever he was growing up, he kind of flirted with wanting to go to Cincinnati because of them. What's your memory as a kid growing up in Southern Ohio of those early Cincinnati teams?
Yeah, hopefully this isn't being recorded, so I don't want this to get out there. I actually remember being mad as hell when Kenyon Martin tore his ACL.
Yeah,
I was actually hopeful. I wanted them to win it all, that they were loaded.
Yeah,
and I was actually, back in the day, I was a big Steve Logan fan. I don't know why. I think it was a combination of those long baggy shorts and
I miss
that bear claw on the side.
Yeah,
but I mean, they were always the standard, right?
And then you come to Xavier and show them the standard because I'm pretty sure you had your way with them. Now, and I wanted to ask you when it comes to tournaments because not everybody goes on a big run. You go to the Sweet 16, you go to the Elite Eight. You didn't just go in the tournament. I mean, you're part of one of the most historic games in the tournament, that double overtime game with Kansas State. What's it like whenever you get through that first weekend and then you're practicing for that next weekend and you and your team are – I mean, you guys all kind of look around like, fellas, we're almost there. Like everything is almost there right in front of us.
Once you get through that first weekend, it puts everything in perspective because – now like the tournament 68 teams, you get through that first weekend and all of a sudden it's like, shit, there's only 15 other teams playing right now, fellas. And like, you almost, you look back and it's like, damn, we've come a long way. There's 15 teams playing. Like, we might as well win 2 more and like see how
right. We might as well keep this dance going.
It's a hell of a feeling.
Now I want to ask you because, like I said, you've played in that double overtime against Kansas State. You played against, like you mentioned, Russell Westbrook, Kevin Love, everything like that. Was there ever a time, either in the game or after, where you kind of just like took a step back and was like, holy shit, I just played against some real dudes?
You know what? I think throughout the course of the game, you're like, damn, this guy's really good. This guy's really, really good. But it's not until they become who they end up becoming. Like, for instance, we played Memphis my sophomore year in the Bahamas, and we beat them. And they had Tyreek Evans and a couple other dudes. And, like, he's good. But then when he goes in the first round, the 5th pick of the next draft, you're like, damn, I actually had 12 and 6 against that dude right there. And, like, it puts it all in perspective. But, like, now being 36 years old, like, you look back and it's like, and you played Derrick Rose, you played Tyreek Evans, you played Kevin Love, you played Michael Beasley, you've played all these dudes that like are great.
Yeah.
It's kind of humbling just to be on the same floor. Yeah, Jimmy Butler and all those dudes.
Yeah. Now, what'd you say? I didn't hear what you said.
Crawford didn't you?
Oh
play
yeah,
against Jamal Crawford in practice almost every day.
Every day.
Yeah, that had to be annoying, man. I mean, like, was there ever a time where he just got in a zone, and like whoever's guarding him is just like, dude, I don't know what you want me to do, because I remember him having one of the most prettiest jump shots I've ever seen.
listen, that happened every day in practice. And here's the thing: like Sean was my coach during that time, and I always seemed to draw the assignment of trying to slow crawl down, and it never worked. Like he used to destroy me every day in practice, and I would tell you, Sean actually, a lot of the times when Sean would get after me, it was after Crawl hit a big time shot. So it was not fun. I got humbled several times with JC.
I feel like through that entire experience, that you guys probably got pretty close, right?
Yeah, listen, like he talked a lot of shit, and he came at my neck, and I tried to go at his, and we're competitors, right? And like he wants to win, I wanted to win, so we formed a really close friendship, and I think that really honestly led to the trust he had in me, the trust I had in him, and kind of helped him do what he does.
Now, I mean, we're talking about talking shit. What gets me to this, one of the bigger shit talkers that we've seen in the game right now is Caitlin Clark. I don't know if you've kept your eye on it. What's your thoughts on her and what she kind of did with the women's game this year, and Don getting another chip over there with South Carolina?
Caitlin Clark is a stud.
She is.
She is incredible. I watched the start to finish. I guess it would have been the LSU game.
Yeah.
We're in the transfer portal and we're doing all these Zooms, and so like we actually had a break. I watched that game, and how she scores, from where she scores, her ability to get to whatever spot that she wants to, and it looks so like effortless.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I had seen clips and I hadn't sat down and actually watched a full game.
Yeah.
But what she did to, was it Haley Van Leith or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Like
she just turns around and goes, "Oh, you want me to do?"
Like she made her look like a little child.
Yeah.
Like,
what amazes me is on her fast breaks, she'll be surrounded by like 3 or 4 people and just pull up unconscious and drain
fearless.
It's insane.
Great passer,
that's what I was about to say.
Yep.
Where she's being regarded as now, Dan Orlovsky got a lot of shit because he compared her to Wayne Gretzky. And then I got to hear why he to defend it. And he's like, well, what I was saying was Wayne Gretzky, yes, is the greatest scorer in NHL history, but he's also third in assists. So he was scoring and making his teammates better. Yeah. And, Coach, I'm sure, as you know, that's what you want in your best players, being best all-around player. Yeah. I mean, I feel like if you looked at Clay Stratton on our team, I mean, that kid knew when to put the ball in the hoop and when to give it up. Yeah. I feel like, Dante, with you being the best player on your high school team,
I don't know. Michael Howard might have an argument with that.
Now, was there ever
he would. He would be wrong. He would be wrong, but he would be sorry.
Now, was there ever a time where you're like, you knew you were in the zone and you're like, I'm not giving this ball to anybody? And was there ever times where you kind of knew this, Michael Howard maybe it was hot and you knew to get him the ball a couple, or how's that work? I've always been the player that's never hot, just pass the ball.
You know what? I think it kind of comes and goes, right? I think the bigger the game, the more reluctant I was to pass. Now, I'll tell you this: those guys, Michael Howard, Garrett Taylor, Heath McNeil, Matt Benniger, all of my teammates, like they worked really, really hard to be in the right position, and I trusted them wholeheartedly. But again, the bigger the game, like I was leaving no doubt. If we were going to go down, we were going to go down because I felt I pulled up short, not because I let them do it.
See, it's kind of crazy hearing you say that because I had the exact reverse speech in high school. I was like, listen, guys, if we're going to win, stop giving me the ball.
If we're going to win, it's because y'all willed us to it.
I'm going to be getting on your backs, okay? Let's get one thing straight.
Having said all that, Dante, I'll never forget when you guys played, and I think you guys talked about this on a previous podcast, but when you played
so cool to say.
Muskingum, or no, Upper Sandusky. Is that up at St. John. And they were pressing, and they were averaging 115 points a game or whatever. And was it Jeremy Webster that got like 15 layups at the other end because they couldn't guard you, and you fed him the ball? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. So Jeremy, I think, probably had 20 or 22 that game. Yeah. And believe it or not, like Garrett Taylor, who back then, like, he was known from just hitting shots in the corner.
Yeah.
So Coach Van Meter decided to put Jeremy on one side, Garrett Taylor in the left corner. And so when I broke the press, it was like, hey, I'm going to hit Garrett in the left corner. I'm going to dump this thing down to Jeremy. And those guys feasted.
No.
Do you remember, because this guy's always bragging about playing with you, and he admits that he wasn't, a great player, a starter or anything. Do you remember Seth Stratton?
Oh, yeah, yes. Yeah,
No, you know Seth. Yes.
He's always bragging about playing with Dante, and I don't remember him even being on the team.
Good old Seth Stratton, man.
So it's crazy. So Coach Van Meter used to call him God, what he used to call him? And one mixtape, because Seth wouldn't just be normal. Like every time he dribbled, he had to go between the legs, behind the back. He had to do some kind of
That's great
stuff that you're going to see on an and one mixtape. And so his nickname became and one mixtape.
And so, I can see him too, having the baggy shorts, the triple XL shirt when he's super small.
That does not surprise me.
Next time you see this guy Seth Stratton, I want you to ask him. We played and we were winning by 1 million, and he gets in the game. They throw him the ball, and he goes to shoot a layup. The problem is he was trying to shoot a layup on the wrong basket. So here I am. I come running down the floor, and he's about to shoot this layup. So I have to block the ball out of the back. Seth, what are you doing? This is why you don't play, because you're going to be locked into the game. I want you to ask him about that.
He's going to hate us.
What are you doing? You guys, that's why you don't play.
All I imagine is a LeBron versus the Warriors in Game 7 sprint, just for a complete block of the probably top 3 blocking in your high school career if we had.
It was. I felt really good about it, but I'm looking at Seth hey, bro, what are you doing? What is going on?
He's probably man, I don't know.
Why'd you block that? I was going to make that.
What he's doing.
No,
that's exactly what he was doing.
I'm glad I have you and Shu here, because we've been saying a lot on this show, and I feel like you two are the pinnacle of it. We always say that the state title from 2008's Chillicothe was just the pinnacle of how good the area was from 1990 to that point.
It was just a culmination of all the talent.
Yeah, you had in the early 90s, what you said in 92, any team from that 92 league in the SVC would win the league any other year. You had you over at McLean. You guys were in a dogfight every year in the tournament with either Chillicothe, Vinton County, all those other schools.
Chillicothe, Vinton County, McLean were the big three.
So I kind of want to get from, I guess, both of you guys right here your opinions on A, that statement, if I'm terribly wrong, or B, what it was just like, whatever. Because whenever you were in high school and you were coaching in high school before me, I just felt like it was the area was just different. I felt like when people say standing room only, there wasn't even that. You couldn't even get in the gym.
Yeah. The Dante knows this, but the league he played in was really good. The SVC in the early 2000s wasn't great. The 90s SVC basketball was unbelievable. It was incredible. It was as good or better than the SEOL with McLean and Miami Trace and Hillsborough in the early to mid-90s. In the 2000s, things kind of shifted to Highland County and that area, Fayette County, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'll tell you, part of me feels really bad because, you had a team like Miami Trace who was they were always really good when I was in high school. They never made it out of the sectional because they always ran into us
to you.
And the same thing for Hillsborough. And Joe B had some really good teams. Jared Mobley had some really good teams that always pulled up short because of the draw.
Yeah.
And now you talk about Vinton County. I'll give you Logan Elm, Gallipolis.
Yeah.
That whole Southeast Ohio was just, it was just loaded. And it was a bear to get out of your sectional. You get out of the sectional, you think you can take a deep breath, and now you got Gallipolis waiting on you, and then you got the winner of Vinton County, Logan Elm, and then it was in the mid 2000s. I thought it was just the highest level.
And I thought that's what was so cool too, was that for Southern, because now if we go back to like when I was in high school, whenever we're going on our tournament run, we're playing like South Webster, nowhere near us. If we would have won the district, we go play like Afrocentric. Leesburg was kind of near us. But whenever it was you guys, McLean, Vinton County, Chillicothe, I mean, you guys are right in the middle of an area. I mean, it was the 3 best teams from the 3 local counties pretty much going head-to-head every single year. It's almost something out of a movie. I mean, did you ever sit back and feel like, dude, we're living in a movie right now?
I'm going to tell you, every time we pulled into the new Southeastern High School, you come down the street or down the road and you pull in. One, you see all these people standing outside, and it's like you get parked in, and then you go in the back door, and then you walk in. It's like it's hot, it's sticky. There's a million people in there. There's 1,000 people waiting outside. Like that was, in my opinion, the glory days.
Yeah.
Like you walked in, it's like didn't matter who you were playing. It might be Southeastern, it might be Hillsborough, it could be Chillicothe, but
yeah,
it was standing room only. It was a tough ticket, and like it was going to be a competitive game, and you had to play your best to win. To me, those were the days.
So I think these guys will be interested to know, Dante, what song McLean listened to before they went out and took the floor.
Oh, God, no.
You remember?
That's funny. Yeah. So we listened to a Little Temptations.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I always heard it was My Girl by the Temptations. That was a big one.
And you know what? I kind of bullied my teammates into listening to that. Like I'm at heart, I'm an old school. Like give me the '80s Temptations.
Hey, same right here.
Michael Jackson or whomever. And I think we did it one game. We won the game, and it was almost like our superstition. So every time we'd walk out the locker room, we'd start singing, and that was like that was our deal to get locked in.
So Dante, when we're talking about pregame superstitions, I'll give you the one that I had in high school, and this will show you how smart I am. So me and my buddy Clay Stratton, we went out this before. We were about to go play Peebles. They're undefeated, ranked second in the state. Well, we have a big cornfield behind the school. So what we did was we took my car behind the cornfield, and we did donuts in this little Mazda in this back cornfield, go down, won the game. So we were like, well, shit, we got to do this before every game, right? Well, let me tell you, 4 games in, I was out of a transmission because mud was just flying up. And I was driving to school one day, and my car just broke down, and my mom taught at the school. And I called her, and I was like, Mom, I'm stuck on 50. My car broke down. And she was just pissed because she was driving past all these people that she worked with that just saw me broke down on this side of the road trying to go to school. So, moral of the story, there's great team pregame traditions, and there are terrible ones. Make sure you know which one you're doing in the middle.
Hey, anyone that's winning this game is a good one.
That's what I got.
Yeah,
I'll go with that.
Everyone that wins the game, it's a good one.
Yeah.
That's
now,
right. Everyone.
I got to ask you, because I bring up that People's one because – I didn't put up banners like you, but when we do go into Pate Valley, I mean, me and Shu have done it a couple of times together. You go and you see, under their sectional titles, the years that you graduate. And it kind of just brings back all those memories that you had of those kind of days. Have you ever been able to go back to McLean, walk in that gym, just see that banner, and kind of take you back to A, appreciate those days, and B, what's kind of one of the first memories you have whenever you do go down that memory lane?
Yeah, I mean, like I'm fortunate. So like I've got a 13-year-old daughter. She's going she'll be a freshman next year, so she does a lot of practices and stuff. So I actually look at those banners and those district championship pictures often. And the thing I think about is, damn, I wish we would have beaten Chillicothe my senior year. Like,
yeah,
it always goes to that because I always played for my teammates, my coaches, and like it was really never about me. The thing I regret that I wasn't able to do was get Coach Van Meter to the state tournament. And so I thought that was going to be our best opportunity. And I always think about that because Coach he's the best coach I've ever had. I think he sewed so much into me, and that's one of the things I look at the pictures, I look at the banners, and it's like, man, that's the one thing I wish I could have fulfilled because his resume speaks for itself. But if I'm being honest, like it's missing just that one thing.
Yeah, I get that because when I look at those, I mean, I do think of the Peebles, but the next thing I think of is Trimble and Fairfield. So
yeah, I think of the losses much more now than I do of the victories.
I feel like the victories are like almost like a blur too.
Yeah, we lost a 1-point game in the district championship against Oak Hill.
Yeah.
I still question whether we should have started fouling earlier. You don't get over the losses. I probably think about it once a week at least now.
So like, I don't know if I've ever told you my perspective of that Oak Hill game, Coach, but like I'm on the bench, and this is right before I was going to the Navy, and so I was ready for you guys to win, and I was going to go to boot camp like literally 2 days later. And then literally our hearts just got ripped out on a buzzer beater. That's like, all right, go sell your soul to the military. Like right after that, it's like, come on, man. Now
it's the finality.
Yeah,
right. It's over so quick, and you don't have time to prepare for it or process it because it's done up over, bringing in. Hey, see you next year or not.
Especially in that game too, because like. I was an assistant coach, and towards the end of the game, I was already thinking about because I played with Swingle, now I'm coaching him. I'm already thinking about what I'm going to say to him after we win because we were up by a little bit there towards the end. And that 3 was just ridiculous. Now, I don't want to keep rubbing it in, Coach, but I mean, it was Steph Curry. I mean, no one thought that was going in, and it did. And then they play Southeastern next that we beat by 40 twice. Like it. Sorry,
Southeastern beat them.
Yeah, that was the insane, and that's where I want to the magic of basketball, man. Like, yes, the NFL playoffs, the NHL playoffs, the college football playoff, that's all amazing, but nothing is like that tournament in March where you have an 11 seed have to pretty much win their entire conference tournament.
Single elimination is way better than what the NBA has.
I mean, you don't have anything that's like NC State. They win the entire conference tournament just to get in and then go to the Final Four. Like, what were your thoughts on NC State? I got to ask you that.
I mean, I was in disbelief as you guys were. I mean, I want you to think about this. I mean, like for all intents and purposes, like I think that guy was going to get fired.
Yeah,
like he wasn't going to be coaching NC State anymore, and then
he was going to be like the Long Beach State guy that got fired and then still had to work because they didn't lose.
Was going to be done, right? And so you win the tournament, and then that's the beauty of it. Like, can you just get in?
Yeah,
because if you get in, anything can happen. And they caught lightning in a bottle, and DJ Burns became a household name, and DJ Horn, the guy that makes all the shots, and then the next thing you know, they're in the Final Four, and so it actually tells you. Kind of shows you how special, just one moment can turn into if you're able to make that one play.
Now, I want to ask you, I got a couple questions for you before we get you out of here. First one, we haven't really touched on it too much yet, so I want to talk. Calipari going to Arkansas. For me, that kind of came out of nowhere. What were your thoughts on that? I mean, we've had a lot of coaching shifts and changes throughout this, I guess, off season, but I felt that one kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, when you think of Cal, and I think guys like you probably think of Kentucky.
Kentucky
but it's hard, man. When you're at a place for 15 years and the expectations are so high, and maybe as they should be, anything you do and you don't meet the standard, like it's a problem.
Yeah,
and I just think for Cal and Kentucky, they needed a good divorce.
Yeah,
and I think Cal needed to get out and honestly reinvigorate himself. And trust me when I tell you, he's still John Calipari. There's not a guy coaching college basketball that's probably more fearful or strikes more fear in you than Cal. Yeah. And so trust me when I tell you, it will be very, very soon that Arkansas, they're top 5 in the country. They've got the number 1 recruiting class. He's going to be fine, and then Kentucky's going to be Kentucky.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, one more thing before I get you out of here. You guys, you go to the NIT this year, but I feel like you got some pieces. I know you got Marcus Foster coming in the transfer portal. Claude only being a sophomore. my favorite young guy you guys had was Swain. When we went down to that Creighton game, man, he was all over the floor. So, hey, and I did some recruiting too. I can't remember the Australian recruit, but I told him that was the best place in America. No, don't even need to look anywhere else, okay? So I know we're going to have him coming.
Funny.
Yeah.
That's so funny. This is so funny. We took him to dinner that night after the game. And we said, hey, how was your experience? And he said, man, it was great. Like, your fans are like crazy. I was like, well, what do you mean? And he was like, hey, some random guy came up and said, hey, can I get a picture with you? And I said, is this the picture? And he started laughing like, yeah, those dudes are awesome.
Yeah, let's go.
It was the funniest thing. And so I'm actually glad I forgot about it. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. So this is listen. So this is the craziest thing. So I can't go anywhere without wearing a Grateful Dead shirt. It's just off brand for me. So we're walking down and like I got to the bottom and I turned around and said, guys, we got a good problem. We have ran out of rows and we haven't found our seats yet. So we get down there and I mean, if you looked at us, you're like, those guys don't belong down there. So I don't blame the guy for making sure that's where we're supposed to be. So then we get down there and we're chilling and I just thought there was some tall guy next to me, and then next thing I hear some lady say, what high school do you go to? And he goes, I'm from Australia. And I just turned on that. No way! I was like, I love Australia. And he just kind of looked at me and goes, oh, really? And I just kind of started talking to him, and I was like, what are you here for? He goes, I'm on a recruiting visit. And I'm a salesman at heart, Dante, so I instantly flipped. I was like, this is the place you need to come. So I flipped that script. But, no, getting into that question, I feel like you guys have a lot to look forward into coming next year. I've been listening to Sean Miller's podcast and his interviews, and, I know there's a few people that are thinking that he was going to leave Xavier. I feel like I was like, no, he loves it there. He came back for a reason. And whenever you hear him in his interviews, I feel like he's talking like, I can't wait for you guys to see what we do next year with all these kind of questions. Is that the vibe around the program? What should we expect about the Musketeers next year?
Yeah, I think you can expect a bounce back in a big way. Right.
Hell yeah.
Like the standard wasn't nearly reached. I mean, I want you to think about this. We're a part of the first Xavier team in 40 years to be under 500. Like that ain't it.
Right.
And so I think, we've got some guys who are in our program now that want to come back. We're actually bringing in some guys that I think really fit us. And so the expectation, and I really believe this, is that like we will have a bounce back season here next year, and I think it's a matter of time. So like we will look significantly different next year than we did this year, and that's for the better.
And I think you definitely saw some glimpses of it this year. You guys definitely hitting your strides. You definitely saw the bright spots in the future, and I feel like you're having some growing pains. One thing though I can attest though, and Shu can as well, for you to get that winning culture, you have to have winning mindsets. And with Miller, with you, and the great coaching staff you guys have there, I don't question that turnaround at all. Coach, Adam, you guys got any more questions?
Agree. Yeah, I just want to say one thing. My best memory of Dante is I was coaching an AAU team back in 03 or 04. I think you were a sophomore. And I had some of the best players in Southern Ohio. I had Jeremy McLeod from Western, and we were really good. And Michael Howard was on the team, actually. Yeah. And because of Michael, when Dante had free time, because he was playing for somebody way bigger team, he showed up to 2 or 3 of our tournaments and a couple practices. And every time he walked in the gym at a practice or a game, the energy level and everything, just because of his positivity and his infectious personality, everything rose up, and we immediately became better.
Hell yeah.
Not just because he was an amazing player, but because of his leadership.
Right.
And that's what I remember.
Hell yeah. Hey, that's why
I appreciate that. Yeah, listen, I just love ball. I love being around guys that love ball. And listen, you're a hell of a coach. I actually appreciate you letting me letting me tag along with Michael and Kip and all those guys. So
that was tough. That was tough to say. Yeah, okay, you can play with us.
Yeah. Xavier, I guess we can find a spot. I mean, well, Dante, thank you so much again for riding the wave with us, my friend, and hopefully we'll have you back on again in the summertime and before your guys' next season comes on.
It's always a pleasure, fellas.
Hell yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, the best basketball player in McLean and possibly Ohio history, Dante Jackson. Just so we're all clear, that was a shot at LeBron. Man, I love when Dante comes on. And what you said there at the end, it's the energy he brings, you know. He's always upbeat. He's always happy. I mean, I feel like you can't really ever bring him down as a person. He's just that kind of guy.
No, he's great.
Now, what are your thoughts, Coach? Because, you know, whenever Ohio State had the opening, I went and I was on the Mike Thurman podcast, and they were thinking about Sean Miller maybe leaving and going to Ohio State. Yeah. And then people, you know, when Kentucky, but now that Kentucky's job's open, they're trying to link him to it. I feel like, you know, where he left Xavier, went to Arizona, what happened at Arizona happened. He comes back with like a second chance at Xavier. I feel like he kind of looks at more of like a family, like he wants to make Xavier where Xavier was at one point again.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he was part of so many great years down there. I mean, I understand that, him wanting to get it back to where it was. Also, and he's familiar with the community and the culture and the city and all that.
Yeah.
So,
Also, he's bringing guys like Dante on, a guy he coached. You know? So he's just building that mentality of like, hey, this is a family. This is, you know.
I think it's fair to say in college basketball, Xavier-Cincinnati has to be in the top 5, if not top 3 rivalries. What would you say to that?
I would say.
Because that's another reason. Like, if you're looking at Miller, like, why would you leave? You know, like, it's almost like you go to Duke, North Carolina because you're part of the greatest rivalry probably in sports. I feel like you can look at that with Xavier and Cincinnati, like, hey, why would I want to leave? I know I'm going to have at least 1 or 2 games against this person every year on primetime television. You know, that's what the recruits are going to be bringing in.
Talking about the Kentucky job a minute ago, I think Nate Oates would be a perfect fit there, the guy from Alabama.
Oh, really?
He's an incredible coach, man.
I saw some people bring up Baylor's coach.
He's
there.
all Drew. Yeah. He's really good, too.
I could see that because I feel like the Baylor, like, it was like Baylor was cool because he made it cool, and now it's still Baylor.
Yeah.
You know, it's
both of those guys would be great. Or Sean Staley.
Now, do you think there's somebody maybe in like the NBA that might get fired and come down to Kentucky? Because I feel like Kentucky's not going to hire.
I got a name.
Who?
Billy Donovan. He's going to leave on his own free will.
I've seen that name. I've been seeing Pitino floating around.
I guarantee you Pitino's agent has called Kentucky. Pitino would love to go back there.
Because did he win a national title there?
Yes.
Because
he was an assistant for the longest time.
Because I heard that, not heard, but I watched something the other day that pretty much said that Tubby Smith pretty much only won a national title there with Rick Pitino's team. And then after that year, it was just absolute dog shit from there. I only knew him from Minnesota. And let me tell you.
Pitino, that's his son, yeah.
No, Tubby Smith?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about Pitino's son who coached it. No, where'd Pitino's son coach?
It was a green team.
It was Minnesota.
I think
I don't know if
Oh, did he end up going to Minnesota?
He might still be there.
Yeah, because when we were kids, it was Tubby Smith. That's where he went after Kentucky, and he didn't do anything there either. All right, Coach, I'm going to put you on the spot. What's your way too early prediction for next year's NCAA?
UConn.
You
I'm picking them three-peat.
Three-peat? That'd be the
what people don't understand about UConn this year, he lost 3 or 4 starters? Or at least 3. And the returning guys had completely different roles this year.
Yeah.
The people he brought in, filled other roles. So he completely changed everything and won it again.
That's the biggest difference between the Florida back-to-back team and this UConn back-to-back team. The Florida was basically an identical team. Like, if you look at the starting 5, it was identical.
Yeah, they just stayed and were like, let's do it again.
Yeah.
Where
UConn was like, hey, we had a bunch of people go to the NBA. We'll get other guys.
Yeah, and that's why I feel like, because, whenever Kevin Ollie won his national title with UConn, I felt like it was a Tubby Smith, where everybody's like, okay, yeah, you won it here, but you know, what can he really do? And after that, I mean, he sent UConn into some of the darkest times they've seen in a long time.
I loved Calhoun. He was amazing.
Yeah. And I feel like now with Dan, they're like, when he won it last year, right? I feel like everybody was like, okay, you're going to be like Calhoun and keep this going, or you're going to be like Kevin Ollie, one off and not come back. And I think he's obviously
the thing with Hurley is, and I took Swingle and Stratton and McCloy and McFadden out to his dad's camp out in the Poconos.
I remember that. Yeah.
So I got to sit with Bob Sr. for like 45 minutes one day, and he told stories about Danny and Bobby and the fighting when they were kids and everything. But it was amazing. But the thing about Danny is, with this NIL thing, and people leaving, if they're not happy, well, he's got such good relationships with these kids that he can yell at them and get on them, but they love him because he loves them. He's going to keep most of those guys, I think. I feel like. So I think they're going to be – and he'll bring in 2 or 3 other guys.
And I feel like when I watch the way that he coaches, it reminds me of something that you say where everybody tries to say, oh, kids have changed, kids have changed. Yeah. Kids have not changed. Parents have changed. Yeah. And I feel like you can see that in this UConn team because I feel like he coaches them like the old school kind of way. I mean, he's not afraid to get in your face and tell you, you're playing like shit.
And I heard him in an interview after the game last night. He said, I'm just trying to get enough respect to sit at our family table and have the respect. Yeah. Because his dad's Bob Hurley.
Yeah.
The greatest high school coach ever. And Bobby won 2 titles with Duke back in the early 90s.
As a player, right?
As a player. Yeah. Now he's at Arizona State.
Yeah.
But he's just trying to get up there
be able to sit there
with his dad and brother.
It's kind of like Harbaugh.
Manning.
Yeah.
Harbaugh's just like, I'm just glad I can sit at the table now. My dad won a championship.
Like Eli Manning.
Yeah, that's what I said. It's like an Eli Manning.
Yeah. And I feel like, too, like, as a player, like say, Coach, you came up and you're like, listen, like, my dad won a title. I have a brother that won titles. I'm ready to get my seat at the table. I'd be like, fuck yeah. Let's get it rolling. It'd make me want to play harder. So I could kind of see it. I feel like what the thing with UConn is their epitome of they play like their coach. You know what I mean? They have the personality of their coach. You can see how their coach is through them. NBA news, the Hornets are asking to interview Lindsey Harding. Did you see that? Former number 1 overall pick. She is the reigning coach of the year for the Sacramento team's G League team, and she would obviously be the first woman head coach for the NBA.
It'd be like the first full-time hired head coach because I know the Spurs actually had a head coach for a few games. It was an interim head coach when Pop got ejected. It was a woman.
I don't know Lindsey Harding. I'm sure she's great. Call Dawn. Okay? That's who needs to be in the NBA. I feel like right now, not even Kim Mulkey has the ability to go into somewhere and just have the respect. Like, Kim Mulkey might go in and be a little bit feared, but Dawn, to me,
she demands respect.
She will walk in there, and it's just kind of like, no. You know what you're talking about. And I feel like it's the way that she carries herself. I mean, she looks like a drill.
And I think it's now – more than ever before, a woman could coach an NBA or men's college team because with the NIL and all this stuff, it's all about, once again, relationships and getting respect from your players. And I think she could do it. And I think other women's coaches could do it, too, if they wanted to.
Yeah. I hope, too, with the college women's basketball game, with Caitlin Clark leaving, I hope it doesn't drop. I feel like
if you played on a team and all of a sudden you had a woman's coach and a female coach, and she knew what she was doing, and you respected her, and you had a relationship, would you care if she was a woman? No.
My big thing is I don't care if you're a man or a woman. As long as you come in and you've proven you can win, I'm going to have respect for you. It's whenever you bring somebody in to be like a manager or a coach or something that doesn't know what the hell they're doing.
Quick change of pace here. The offensive coordinator for UConn, do you guys know who this was? He's the guy calling all those plays where they would get back cuts and his 2-man game and was doing all this. His name is Luke Murray, Bill Murray's son.
Is that why Bill Murray was there?
Yes.
Okay. I did not
Bill
know that.
Murray's son was running the offense for UConn.
That's insane.
Yeah. Is that wild?
It's wild. That's like another list of like. Have you seen like Frank Gore Jr. is in high school? Like all these like famous people's kids.
We
are
should have
grown up.
asked Dante because he was at Xavier from like 15 to 18.
Oh, really?
Luke
I didn't know
was.
that.
Yeah, because Bill was at a couple of games I was at.
Hey, great journalism over here for me to know that before he comes on. Lakers and Warriors play tonight. No one really cares because it's not the playoffs. Celtics are running away with the East. Have you seen that? So the Lakers are in 8th place in the West, and they are closer to the first seed than I think the Bucks are, who are in 2nd place to the first seed of the Celtics. The 2nd place team in the East is 13 games behind the Celtics. LeBron is in 9th place or 8th place with the Lakers, and they're 8 games behind first place.
I'm not sold on the
East
Celtics
sucks.
though.
No.
Just not.
They're going to choke it away for
they
sure.
choked against the Heat last year, who had to win a playing game to get there.
Yeah.
So they got to show
my
me.
question.
I don't know. I mean, their best players got to show me they can win in the big moments.
Yeah.
They haven't yet.
Here's my question. I know we have East versus West, all that kind of stuff. Do you think that the NBA should kind of go NCAA style and just the top 16 teams make it into the playoffs?
I think they should do that in football. I hate it when Tampa Bay was 9-7 or 9-8, and they got it. Or
a
8-9.
losing record make it into the playoffs.
And then you got another team that's 12-5 doesn't get in.
Yeah,
I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, you're holding out the best teams, and that's why.
Yeah.
Like, if you need to do the East versus West for the games, maybe to make it easier or whatever. But I'm with you because you look over at the West. If it was an all 16 team seed, the East would have the Celtics, and then the rest would just be everybody that's in the West. So I feel like you're robbing your viewership of bad basketball, and that kind of goes back to the NCAA where the Big East, who clearly I think is showing that they're the best conference in college basketball, 3 bids in the NCAA tournament, and then Seton Hall goes and wins the NIT. So it's kind of
great game against Indiana State.
Yeah,
Indiana State was one of my favorite teams to watch play.
Yeah, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah, or Larry Nerd.
Cream.
Yeah.
They called him Larry Nerd.
Yeah.
Love that guy.
Dude.
You can't tell me they weren't one of the top 64 teams.
And it was crazy. I watched the game they lost in their conference title game, and it was like it was almost like they thought that like they were just showing up to win the game, and it's like I feel like that guy kind of his publicity probably got to. I mean, when was the last time other than Larry Bird you heard of Indiana State?
Yeah.
Like, and that's the crazy thing. Was Indiana State like big time back then? Like, or was Larry Bird just?
No, they're like they are now.
Was he just underrated, and then he goes to Indiana State and ends up being a dog, or what happened?
He went to Indiana and quit.
Like actual IU.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bobby Knight recruited him and he quit, and then he went to Indiana State. And you start hearing about him when they were like 18-0 or something.
Yeah.
And they just kept winning and winning. You heard about this dude, and then they got in the tournament and just kept winning.
My favorite story about that is Magic Johnson saying, like, I had to go see if this white kid could actually play, and then I had to call everybody back home and be like, yeah, he can. He's pretty good.
My favorite's what I don't know who it is, but I think they're doing. He's talking for Larry Bird's Hall of Fame and trying. And he said they heard him on the radio. He's like, Bird doing this, Bird go the whole. He's like, I did not think he was a white dude.
Yeah.
But
I think that could have been Russell.
I think it might have been
Bill
Russell.
Russell.
Yeah. But I feel like knowing Larry Bird like now, well, I should probably say that not like I know him, but like seeing him later on, I feel like he went to Indiana State as an FU to Bobby Knight. Be like, all right, you don't want me? You want to run me off? I was going to Indiana State and win it all.
So what do you mean I can't just show up to practice six beers deep in my Jeep?
Oh, what? There's like a sitcom that had like a little skit.
It's the Kroll show. Nick Kroll.
Yeah.
It's the Kroll show.
Where they have like a skit on Larry Bird, like the farmer. And he's like super good at shooting.
Good bounce pass. It's because it's the skills competition. Yeah.
All right. Well, I have my notes down here for the MLB. Nothing matters. There's 162 games.
What's funny?
We are 10 games in.
I saw it was like the Mets they were 0-6, down like 5, hitless through 7. They were down by hitless through 7, and the announcer was like, what was it? It was like a 0-3 count, and he was just me like, this gotta feel like rock bottom for the Mets. Like, this is game 6.
Yeah. Although it doesn't matter, though, fuck the Padres, okay? Cubs were up 8-1 in, like, the 6th or 7th inning yesterday and lost on a walk-off 9-8. So, fuck the Padres.
Let's go, Padre.
Right. Coach, you ready for our draft? We got a good one here for you today. All right?
I'm not prepared, but sure.
Awesome. It's draft time. All right, so our draft today, Coach, you are sitting at home, and you are going to send 5 celebrities to rob a bank for you. You got to pick a driver, a lookout guy, your muscle man, your fall guy, and your bag man.
I feel like we could just do, like, you could kind of, if you have some, like, a position you want that we didn't list, you could kind of throw it in
So
there.
what we're saying as the fall guy is, like, the guy you set up to get caught so you don't.
Adam Sandler.
All right. Is that going to be your first pick?
Yeah.
All right.
What do we
Adam
do?
Sandler, fall guy. Adam,
Does it have
you're
to be
next.
actors or just famous people?
Just famous people.
Yes.
Okay.
Adam, you're next.
So, I think I'm going to have to go with, like, my brains being Denzel Washington. The
All
brains
right.
of the operation.
Brain. So you got Denzel. All right. So I have back to back here. My first thing, and you know, we said we could be a muscle man or like the guy putting the money in the bag, whatever. Is The Rock,
Yeah,
because
he was on my list.
he is so strong. He can put a lot of money in and still carry it. So I have The Rock, and then you had a good idea with the brains there, but I don't want to make a rash pick, and I'm just going to go with another pick to make sure I can load up a bunch of money and still carry it. So I'm going to go with Jason Momoa. Yeah, just shoving money in like these 2 giant cartoon-like bags and running
You're
out.
going to start a stereotype for Samoans that people just didn't even know about.
Yeah.
Like, you're just trying to make the whole community
This
Samoan
is a
people
terrible
look bad.
show. All right, Adam, going back to you. You have Denzel as your brains. Who
Now-
else are you going with?
Now, I'm going to go with, like, a hybrid. He's going to be my trigger man, so he's going to be handling my guns. Jason Statham, but he's also good enough to be my brains.
All
so
right.
he's like my number 2. Derek, he reminds me a lot of you. I'm being honest. He's bad-iced.
All righty, so you have Adam Sandler as your fall guy. You got 2 back-to-back picks here. Who are you picking, and what are they doing?
Can they be a dead or alive?
Yeah, they can be. Yeah.
all time.
So my muscle guy is going to be Andre the Giant.
God,
That's a
what
good
a
one.
great pick. All right, and you get one more.
The brains going to go off the wall here a little bit, but I'm going to go with Bugs Bunny. Have
That
you not
is-
seen the cartoons?
That's good. Just I thought you were going to say my pick. So I'm
Chaotic.
I'm glad you didn't. I'm glad you didn't. All right. So Adam, it's your pick. You got Denzel as your brains. You got Jason Statham as your shooter. And who you going to pick for your next celeb?
So I'm going to go my getaway driver, Ryan Gosling,
Okay.
because he was in The Driver, like a whole movie
Yeah.
about him doing that specific thing.
So, are
He's good.
so I'm gonna go with mine. When Shu said off the wall, I thought he was gonna pick mine because my getaway driver is Dale Earnhardt. Hey, listen.
You better hope it's a lot of lefts.
I have set up this getaway route all left turns,
Yeah.
so we're good.
No, I said if anybody can do it, just any style, it's Dale Earnhardt.
Yeah. So I got Dale Earnhardt as my getaway driver. Now we go to the brains. I'm still not on that one yet. So I'm going to go with the guns. And I'm going to go with the most lethal shot there is. John Wick.
Damn it.
Yep, that's who I'm going to.
That was
What would
mine.
be Keanu Reeves?
Yeah, Keanu Reeves. Yeah, that's. I wasn't going to say Keanu Reeves. I said John Wick. I was like, damn it. Yeah. So I got Keanu Reeves. Also because you know how you know he's a good shot? He's a great quarterback in the replacements. You know, he's got that precision. All righty, so I got The Rock and John Cena. Jason Momoa. I just saw a big J.
Hey, Tony's got some picks on here.
Oh, okay, Tony. Give us 2 of his picks real quick.
For his fall guy, he's got Kim Mulkey.
Wow! All right. And then give us another one.
His driver is O.J. Simpson.
Jeez.
Fast.
This show took a turn. All right. Give us one more because we all have 3.
His brains is Elon. I'm going to assume Musk.
Yeah,
It's
probably.
only Elon I've
That's a
ever
good one.
heard of.
All right, Adam, goes back to you.
Okay, so I'm going to go. What are my picks so far?
You have Denzel. You said he was your brains. You
Yep.
have Jason Statham as your shot. You have Ryan Gosling as your driver. You have 2 more picks.
Now, I'm going to go. My muscle man is going to be Brock Lesnar.
Good pick.
Yeah, arguably, I was thinking about this the other day. Arguably one of the most versatile athletes in the history of athletes.
Oh, if the aliens came down and said, "Here
Yeah.
you send to fight us," it's
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar.
Because he's got the WWE aspect, which is a lot of like wear and tear and taking big hits and a little bit of acrobatics. Then he played for the Minnesota Vikings, so
Yeah.
I mean, obviously loved the Minnesota Vikings. And then UFC was a heavyweight champion for a while, so he can handle
pick.
himself. You
It's a
know
good
what I
pick.
mean?
It's a good pick. Shoe?
Number 1, the driver should be Al Cowlings. That's the guy that drove O.J. on his escape. O.J. wasn't driving the Bronco, so that was a dumb pick. So I'm going to go with as my shooter, Jason Bourne.
Oh,
Matt
nice.
Yeah, Matt Damon,
Damon.
he was on my list as well.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Shoe, you have one more pick, and this will be the last pick of your team.
Okay. What are the choices?
This is
again?
just some random.
random,
We're just
okay.
picking guys and saying what they are, so it doesn't have to be anything specific.
We're just picking dudes
Yep.
saying what they do.
just a guy to have. Okay.
Yep. So you got Adam Sandler. You say he's gonna be your fall guy. Andre the Giant's gonna be your muscles to get the money in there. You have Bugs Bunny being the brains of the operation. You have Matt Damon as your shooter. Then this is some miscellaneous guy doing whatever the hell you tell him to do.
Some miscellaneous guy that will do what the hell I tell him to, like
For
a
a bank robber.
sidekick.
Yeah. He's gonna be your Robin.
Yosemite Sam.
I was not ready for that at all, but we got it. All right. Yosemite Sam. All righty. So that rounds out your team. You have Adam Sandler, Andre the Giant, Bugs Bunny, Matt Damon, and Yosemite Sam. Adam, you have Denzel, Jason Statham, Ryan Gosling, Brock Lesnar, and
It's going to be my lookout / fall guy. So he's not like taking a fall and going to jail, but he's like the guy in like Ocean 11 when you're like, oh, he's the one that stole. And then like you search him and he doesn't have anything, so the other guys can get away and he can reconvene. Giovanni Ribisi.
okay.
So I think he's in Sneaky Pete. He's also in My Name is Earl.
Okay.
Who
so
is he?
And My Name is Earl, he's like the friend that like
steals everything.
yeah,
Yeah.
Ralph.
Oh.
Yeah, he's Ralph. in
So-
My Name is Earl.
I'm picking this actor, but I'm really just kind of actually I don't even know what the actual actor's name is because I'm really kind of just picking a character. And I'll tell you because it's the last pick. I almost went Toby and picked Toby from The Office, the actor of him.
Scranton
But then I was
Strangler?
like, no, he's just more not liked than also being terrible.
He's the Scranton Strangler.
Right. So I went towards more of, oh, this person has to be able to take the blame, but also be dumb. So I went with whoever plays Jerry in Parks and Rec, or Gary, or whatever his
Terry.
name is at the end of the show because it changes a
Jerry.
million times. So that's who I go with because as my fall guy because he'll probably just kind of go along with it.
I don't even know who this guy is.
Me either. So I'm just going Jerry Parks and Rec, or Gary. Who cares about his name? All right. Well, I think that's going to be a conclusion to our show. Welcome to the new and improved studio. Andy, got to give him a round of applause. Outdid himself. Help me with this. Adam, thank you for thinking of putting up the banner. Thank you to DEH Customs on making this awesome banner. Oh, wait. Did Tony have more picks? Probably. Oh, well, who cares?
I do.
Whenever he came with the OJ driver, I think we weren't.
He lost credibility.
Yeah, he
with
did
that.
lose.
McGregor as his bag guy.
Okay.
And Tom Hardy. It just says other.
I had Tom Hardy as one of my guys in here as well.
Yeah.
Did
I
you
was
guys see
thinking about
the new Roadhouse?
Yeah,
No,
I
it's a-
loved it.
I liked it too.
All right.
Yeah.
I have been hearing high reviews, so I'm going to have
There was
to.
criticism about it. I mean, I don't know what people are expecting.
Yeah.
I was expecting like a remake of the Roadhouse. you know?
Yeah. Make
liked
sure this Saturday you're at Payne Valley High School from 2 to 8 o'clock for our 3-on-3 tournament. We'll have pizza thanks to Frednick sponsoring. We're going to have some pulled pork belly or pork butt, I think.
Holy
from
cow.
West, is it Bell?
Yeah, West Bell.
West
Come-
Bell is going to be providing. We'll have some snacks out there. Again,
Come-
it's only $5 to get in.
Come for the food.
If you don't have $5, just bring a
$5.
piece of canned food, bring some clothing, bring anything to donate to the Indian Lake Foundation. Again, make sure that you're reaching out to your friends. Be a friend, tell a friend. Make sure that you're there for anybody. Just brighten somebody's day. Be a good person. Nobody likes an asshole. So make sure that you also are subscribing
watch
on
the
YouTube.
show.
And making sure that you're following us on our Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Be a friend, tell a friend. Make us get famous. Oh, and our Patreon. If you just go on Patreon and type in Ride the Wave, right? Yep. Go to Patreon and type in Ride the Wave. $2 can make a whole difference. There's also a free one, but man, that $2 a month.
If you haven't checked out our Patreon, it'd be a whole lot cooler if you did.
I mean, you go on there, you want somebody on the show, you want a segment on the show, you want us to go to a game, that's the first place that we look. Give us draft ideas, give us segment ideas. That's where we go for that. So,
You want us to give a shout out to somebody on their birthday? Just let us know.
yeah.
Just let us know.
Speaking of birthday, you and Dante share a birthday month, so happy birthday to you guys.
5th and his is the 7th.
Yep. And deadline is Thursday to sign up for that awesome 3-on-3 tournament. So, with
Be
that
there,
being
be
said,
square.
peace out. Girl Scouts, we love you.